The apartment was silent, except for the distant hum of Boston traffic 13 floors below. Han Jun-seok stood at the window of the unfurnished studio, watching snow begin to fall over Back Bay. His reflection stared back at him, white dress shirt with 4 buttons undone, the phoenix tattoo on his neck a dark shadow against his skin, shoulders tense with the weight of betrayal. Thanksgiving Eve. The irony wasn't lost on him. 48 hours ago, he'd controlled the entire Korean underworld on the East Coast from his legitimate import business. Now he was alone in a safe house even his most trusted guards didn't know about, because his most trusted guard, his brother in all but blood, had put a gun to his head. The knock on the door made his hand move instinctively to the weapon at his back, but the voice that followed was small, young, utterly fearless. "Hello? I know you're in there. I saw you come home." Jun-seok frowned, approaching the door silently. Through the peephole, he saw a little black girl with her hair in 2 perfectly round afro puffs, wearing a purple jacket that had seen better winters. She couldn't have been more than 7 years old. "My name is Maya," she continued, speaking to the door like it might answer. "My mama says nobody should eat alone on Thanksgiving. Do you want to come to our house tomorrow?" For the first time in 2 days, Jun-seok didn't know what to do. Jun-seok didn't open the door. He stood frozen, watching through the peephole as the little girl waited, patient as a saint. After a long moment, she slipped something under the door and left. He waited until her footsteps faded before retrieving it. A hand-drawn picture in crayon, a table with stick figures around it, including one with black hair that she'd labeled New Friend with careful crooked letters. He should have thrown it away. Instead, he placed it on the empty counter and returned to the window. Boston's Back Bay stretched out before him, all historic brownstones and modern glass. His legitimate business, Han Import and Export, occupied a warehouse in Chinatown. His real business operated from the shadows. Or it had, until Kim Min-ho put a bullet through the wall where Jun-seok's head had been. His phone buzzed. Another message from an unknown number. He ignored it. The memory played again. The warehouse office, Min-ho entering with that strange expression, the way his friend's hand had trembled before reaching for his gun. "I'm sorry, Hyung," Min-ho had said. "They made me an offer." Jun-seok had moved on instinct, barely escaping. Now he was here, alone. A sound from the hallway pulled him from his thoughts. Voices this time, the little girl's and a woman's muffled by the walls. "Maya, I told you not to bother the new neighbor." "But Mama, he's all alone. Nobody should be alone on Thanksgiving." "Baby, some people like being alone." "Nobody likes being alone, Mama. That's what Daddy used to say." A pause, heavy with old grief. Then the woman's voice again, softer. "Your daddy was right about a lot of things, but we can't force people to—" "I'm not forcing, I'm inviting." Despite everything, Jun-seok felt the corner of his mouth twitch. The girl was persistent. It reminded him of someone, though he couldn't place who. The voices faded toward the apartment next door. He heard a door close, then silence. He looked down at the crayon drawing again. The stick figure labeled New Friend was smiling. When was the last time someone had smiled at him without fear in their eyes? His phone buzzed again. This time he looked. Unknown. "Your guards are looking for you. I told them you went to New York. That buys you maybe 48 hours. After that, Min-ho will start checking safe houses. Get out of Boston." Jun-seok stared at the message. The sender had to be someone inside his organization, someone who knew about the betrayal but hadn't participated, someone who still, for reasons he couldn't fathom, wanted him alive. He typed back, "Who is this?" The response came immediately. "Someone who remembers when you were different, before you became what you had to become. Happy Thanksgiving, boss." The phone went dark. When he tried to call the number, it was already disconnected. "Before you became what you had to become." The words settled like snow on an old wound. He'd been 17 when he'd killed his first man, the foster father who'd tried to sell him to cover gambling debts. He'd been 19 when he'd taken over his first territory, 23 when the Korean families had acknowledged him as something to fear. Now at 33, he was the ghost story parents told their children, the dragon in the shadows, the man who'd risen from nothing to control everything, and he was alone in an empty apartment on Thanksgiving Eve, holding a crayon drawing from a child who didn't know enough to be afraid. He set the drawing down and checked his gun. 13 rounds. More than enough for Minho if it came to that. The betrayal still burned like acid in his chest, not just the attempt on his life, but the fact that it was Minho, the man who'd stood beside him for a decade, the only person Jun Seok had ever called brother. Outside, the snow fell harder. Boston was beautiful like this. All the dirt and violence covered in white, temporary. By morning, the plows would come through and the city would be grey again. His stomach growled. He'd been so focused on staying alive that he'd forgotten to eat. The safe house had no food, and he couldn't risk going out, not with Minho's people searching. 48 hours, the unknown messenger had said. 2 days to figure out his next move. 2 days alone. Through the wall he heard laughter. The little girl, Maya, saying something that made her mother laugh, a sound like music he'd forgotten existed. The warmth of it seemed to seep through the drywall, a reminder that other people lived other lives, lives where Thanksgiving meant something besides another day to survive. He turned away from the sound and walked to the bathroom. In the mirror, the phoenix tattoo on his neck seemed to mock him. Rebirth, resurrection, second chances. He'd gotten the tattoo at 25, after consolidating his power. It was supposed to represent his transformation from the scared immigrant boy to the man who controlled the streets. Now it just felt like a lie. Back in the main room, his eyes kept drifting to the crayon drawing. Nobody should eat alone on Thanksgiving. The child didn't know what she was asking, didn't know that the man next door had blood on his hands and enemies at his back, didn't know that sitting at a table with him was the kind of risk her mother should never take, but she'd asked anyway, and for the first time in 20 years, Jun Seok considered saying yes to something that had nothing to do with power, territory, or survival. He picked up the drawing and studied it again. The stick figures were holding hands around the table. One of them wore a crown, probably the little girl herself. Another wore what might have been a chef's hat. The one labeled New Friend was just smiling. Jun Seok set the picture back down and returned to the window. The snow was really coming down now, covering the streets, the cars, the whole city in silence. Tomorrow was Thanksgiving. He had 48 hours before Minho's search widened. 48 hours before he had to decide whether to run or to fight. Tonight he was just a man in an empty apartment, looking at a child's drawing and remembering what it felt like to want something other than revenge. Thanksgiving morning arrived with crystalline silence. Jun Seok had spent the night doing what he'd done in every safe house for the past 15 years, not sleeping, just waiting, watching, calculating his next move. At 7 a.m. his phone buzzed with a new unknown number. Unknown. Minho met with the Yakuza last night. He's offering them your roots in exchange for muscle. You have less time than I thought. Maybe 24 hours. Jun Seok replied immediately. Tell me who you are. Unknown. Not yet. First, survive. There's a black SUV circling your block. Don't look out the window. His blood went cold. He'd been so careful, used a fake name for the lease, paid in cash through a third party. Either Minho was better at this than he'd thought, or the knock came again. Same rhythm as yesterday. Small fist, patient. Hello? It's Maya, from next door. My mama sent me to ask again if you want to come for dinner. We're having turkey. Jun Seok moved to the door silently, checking the peephole. The little girl stood there in a yellow dress that was too thin for November, her natural afro styled with a bright yellow headband. Behind her, the hallway was empty. Another message. The SUV is slowing down. They're checking apartment buildings. If they come to your floor, the girl will be in the crossfire. His decision crystallized in an instant. He opened the door. Maya's face lit up like sunrise. You answered. Go back to your apartment, he said quietly. his slight Korean accent making the words sharper than intended. Now. Her smile faltered. But now, please. Something in his expression must have reached her because she nodded and turned toward her door. Then she paused and looked back. Are you in trouble? The question was so direct, so innocent that it stopped him cold. Yeah, he said, because what else could he say? Then you should definitely come to dinner. My mama says that's when people need people most, when they're in trouble. Before he could respond, she knocked on her own door. It opened immediately, revealing a woman who stole the breath from his lungs. She was beautiful in a way that had nothing to do with the fashion magazines in his corporate office waiting room. Deep brown skin that seemed to glow in the fluorescent hallway light. A natural afro that crowned her head like something regal. Warm eyes that went from surprise to wary in the time it took her to take in his appearance. The expensive white shirt, the visible tattoo, the dangerous stillness in his posture. But she smiled anyway, and the warmth of it hit him like a physical thing. I'm so sorry, she said, pulling Maya gently behind her. My daughter doesn't understand boundaries yet. I hope she hasn't been bothering you. Mama, I invited him to Thanksgiving. Maya, he said he's in trouble, Mama. That's when people need people most. You said so. The woman, Maya's mother, looked at Jun Seok with new assessment in her eyes. He saw the moment she catalogued everything. The tattoo, the too expensive clothes, the air of violence he couldn't quite hide. He saw her decide he was dangerous. He also saw her decide it didn't matter. Well, she said slowly, my daughter is right. I did say that, and I meant it. She extended her hand. I'm Ava Robinson. We moved in last week. Her hand was warm, work-roughened, real. He took it carefully. Han Jun Seok. Korean, she said, not a question. My husband. She paused, reset. I used to teach. Beautiful language. Husband. Past tense. Another story there, written in the shadow that crossed her face. You're really invited, Ava continued, if you want to come. We're eating around too, nothing fancy. Just turkey, some sides, pumpkin pie. Teacher, he repeated. Of course she was. It explained the gentle authority in her voice. Elementary school, or I was, until... She stopped herself. Anyway, the offer stands. Apartment 13B, 2 o'clock, no pressure. His phone buzzed in his pocket. He didn't need to check it to know what it said. I don't want to impose, he started. You're not imposing if you're invited, Maya piped up from behind her mother's legs. That's what an invitation means. Ava laughed, the sound like light breaking through clouds. She's not wrong. Through the window, Jun Seok could see the street below. A black SUV was indeed circling. Slowly, methodically. If he stayed in his apartment, they might not check it today, but they would check. And when they did, they'd check the whole floor, including 13B. What time did you say? He heard himself ask. Ava's smile could have melted the snow outside. 2 o'clock, just knock. And Mr. Han, whatever trouble you're in, you're safe here, for today at least. She said it with such certainty that something in his chest cracked open. Thank you, he managed. Maya waved enthusiastically as Ava guided her back inside. The door closed, leaving Jun Seok alone in the hallway. His phone buzzed again. Unknown, smart. They won't check apartments with families. Blend in. Be normal for a few hours. I'll keep you posted. He returned to his apartment and locked the door. Through the wall, he could hear Ava and Maya moving around. The sounds of cooking, of life, of the kind of normal he'd forgotten existed. At 1:45, he stood in front of the bathroom mirror. The phoenix on his neck seemed darker today. He'd normally leave 4 buttons undone, his signature. Today he buttoned up to the second. Tried to hide the tattoo, it didn't work. The phoenix refused to be hidden. At 2 Eroder exactly, he knocked on apartment 13B. The door swung open, and Maya beamed up at him. You came. I came, he agreed. Ava appeared behind her daughter, wiping her hands on an apron that said, "Kiss the Cook," in faded letters. Her afro was even more beautiful up close, framing her face in soft, natural curls. She'd changed into a deep purple dress that hugged her curves and made her skin seem to glow. "Come in," she said. "Welcome to our humble home." The apartment was small, maybe half the size of his penthouse in Chinatown, but it was filled with warmth, photographs on the walls, colorful blankets on the second-hand couch, Maya's drawings taped to the refrigerator. The scent of roasting turkey filled the air, undercut with sage and something sweet. "I hope you're hungry," Ava said, leading him toward a small dining table set for 3. "I might have gone a little overboard." The table was covered in dishes: turkey, mashed potatoes, green beans, cranberry sauce, rolls that looked homemade. It was too much food for 3 people, but Jun Seok recognized the gesture. She'd wanted it to be special. "It looks perfect," he said, and meant it. Maya grabbed his hand, just took it, fearless, and pulled him to the table. "You sit here next to me." As he sat down in the mismatched chair, in this small apartment that smelled like home, surrounded by people who didn't know they'd just invited a monster to dinner, Han Jun-seok felt something he hadn't felt in 20 years. He felt like he belonged. "So," Ava said, passing him the mashed potatoes, "what brings you to Back Bay?" It was the question he'd been dreading. The lie came easily. He'd spent years crafting the perfect cover story. "Business," he said. "I'm in imports, Korean goods mostly, art, furniture, textiles." All true. The legitimate side of Han Import and Export did exactly that. "That sounds fascinating," Ava said, and seemed to mean it. "Maya's been learning about Korea in school, haven't you, baby?" Maya nodded enthusiastically around a mouthful of turkey. "They have pretty buildings and good food and," she swallowed, "and they're really good at math." Jun Seok smiled despite himself. "Some of us, maybe." "Are you good at math?" Maya asked. "Good enough. Mama's bad at math. She says numbers make her brain hurt." "Maya," Ava laughed, embarrassed. "Don't tell the man all my secrets." "It's not a secret if everyone knows," Maya said matter-of-factly. They ate in comfortable silence for a moment. Jun-seok couldn't remember the last time he'd had a home-cooked meal. The turkey was slightly dry but seasoned perfectly. The mashed potatoes were creamy and rich. "This is very good," he said. "Thank you for inviting me." Ava's smile was genuine, reaching her eyes. "Thank you for coming." "So it's just the 2 of you?" he asked, then immediately regretted the intrusion, but Ava just nodded. "Yes, Maya's father passed away a 1.5 years ago. I'm sorry." "Me too." She glanced at Maya, who was carefully constructing the perfect bite. It was sudden. That night left questions we'll never have answers to. That night. Not an illness, then. Something that happened in a single night. Something that left questions. Jun Seok knew that kind of loss. His mother's death had been drawn out, agonizing. But his entry into this life, the night he'd killed his foster father in self-defense, that had been sudden. One moment he was a kid trying to survive, the next he was a killer. Some nights left, you changed forever. "What about you?" Ava asked, pouring gravy over her turkey. "Family?" "None," he said. "My mother died when I was young. No siblings. No." He trailed off. No one. Just Min-ho, and that was gone now too. "I'm sorry," Ava said softly. "That must be lonely. I'm used to it." "That's not the same as being okay with it." Her perception cut deeper than she knew. Maya was watching him now, those wide brown eyes seeing more than a child should. "Do you miss having a family?" Maya asked. "Maya, that's personal," Ava started. "It's okay," Jun Seok interrupted. He looked at the little girl, at her open, honest face. "Yes, sometimes I miss it very much." "You can share ours," Maya said simply. "We have extra." Ava's eyes went bright with sudden tears. She looked down quickly, dabbing at her face with her napkin. "That's very kind of you, baby," she managed. Jun Seok felt that crack in his chest widen. These people, this woman and her daughter, were offering him something he'd stopped believing existed. Unconditional kindness, connection without transaction. His phone buzzed in his pocket. He ignored it. "Tell me about Korea," Maya said, bouncing in her seat. "The real Korea, not just school stuff." So he did. He told her about Seoul in winter, the markets in Myeongdong, the palaces lit up at night. He told her about the food, real Korean food, not the American versions, and the festivals, and the way the whole city smelled like kimchi and possibility. He didn't tell her about arriving in Boston at 13 with nothing. He didn't tell her about the foster homes, the streets, the violence. He didn't tell her about becoming the kind of man mothers warned their daughters about. He told her about the beauty, the parts he still remembered loving, before survival had consumed everything else. Ava listened, her chin resting on her hand, completely absorbed. When his phone buzzed again, she noticed him glance at his pocket. "If you need to check that," she started. "No," he said firmly, "not today." Whatever was happening outside, Minho's search, the Yakuza deal, the unraveling of his empire, it could wait. For these few hours, he wanted to be just a man at a Thanksgiving table, sharing a meal with people who didn't fear him. After dinner, Maya insisted on showing him her room. It was tiny, barely big enough for the twin bed and small dresser, but it was filled with personality. Drawings covered every wall, some from school, some clearly done at home. Most featured stick figures, but a few showed real artistic talent. "This one's Mama," Maya said, pointing to a careful portrait. Ava's smile was captured perfectly, warm and a little sad. "And this one was Daddy." The drawing showed a tall black man with kind eyes and a wide smile. He was holding Maya's hand in the picture. "He looks like he was a good father," Jun Seok said quietly. "He was the best. He always said—" Maya paused, her voice getting smaller. "He said family isn't just blood, it's who you choose to love." Jun Seok's throat tightened. "He was right. I chose you," Maya said matter-of-factly, "for our family, even if it's just for today." He knelt down to her level, this tiny, fierce girl who didn't know she'd saved his life just by knocking on his door. "Thank you," he said. "That means more than you know." Back in the living room, Ava was cleaning up the kitchen. Without asking, Jun Seok started helping, clearing plates, rinsing dishes. She looked surprised but didn't stop him. They worked in comfortable silence, their movements falling into an easy rhythm. When their hands touched over the dish soap, Ava pulled back quickly, but not before he felt the electricity of it. "I should tell you," she said quietly, not looking at him. "Whatever trouble you're in, I don't want to know the details, but I recognize the look. My husband had it toward the end, like he was being hunted." Jun Seok went very still. "Your husband was involved in something he shouldn't have been. I never got the full story. The police said it was random violence, wrong place, wrong time. But Marcus wasn't the wrong place, wrong time type. He was careful, paranoid even." She turned to face him. "Someone killed him, and whoever it was made sure it looked like something else." "I'm sorry," Jun Seok said, meaning it. "I tell you this because—" She took a breath. "Because whatever you're running from, it won't just go away. I learned that the hard way. It finds you, or it finds the people around you. I know." His voice was rougher than intended. "I shouldn't have come. I'm putting you in danger just being here. Maybe." Ava met his eyes steadily. "Or maybe we're all safer together. Maybe that's what families do. Real ones, I mean. Not just blood." The echo of Maya's words hit him like a blow. "I'm not a good man," he said, needing her to understand. "The things I've done—" "I don't care," Ava interrupted. "Everyone has a past. What matters is who you choose to be now. Today you chose to have dinner with a struggling single mother and her too friendly daughter. That tells me something. What does it tell you? That somewhere under all that armor, you're still human, still capable of being kind." She smiled, sad and knowing. "The world hasn't beaten it out of you yet." His phone buzzed again. This time, the vibration was insistent. multiple messages in a row. Ava noticed. "You should check that." Reluctantly, he pulled out his phone. "Unknown. Minho knows. He has someone in the building. They saw you enter 13B. You need to leave. Now. Unknown. They're coming up. Get the woman and child out through the back stairwell. Go. Unknown. You have 90 seconds. I can't help you anymore. I'm sorry." Jun Seok's blood turned to ice. "We need to leave," he said quietly. "Right now." Ava went pale. "What? Please. Trust me. Get Maya. Back stairwell. Don't ask questions." The absolute certainty in his voice must have reached her, because she moved immediately, calling for Maya. The little girl appeared, confused. "What's wrong?" "Adventure time," Ava said, her voice remarkably steady. "We're going to visit Mrs. Chen right now." As they moved toward the door, Jun Seok heard it. Footsteps in the main stairwell. Heavy, multiple people, coming up fast. He guided Ava and Maya toward the back stairs, the ones used by maintenance. His hand found the gun at his back, just in case. Behind them he heard his apartment door being kicked in. They had seconds. The back stairwell was narrow, dimly lit, and smelled like cleaning chemicals and old concrete. Jun Seok led them down 3 floors before stopping, listening. Voices echoed from above, Korean, angry, searching. Ava held Maya close, her hand over her daughter's mouth to keep her quiet. But the little girl wasn't crying or panicking. She was watching Jun Seok with those 2 knowing eyes, understanding more than she should. He pulled out his phone and texted the unknown number. "We're out. Where do we go?" No response. "Who are those men?" Ava whispered. "People I used to work with. They think I betrayed them." "Did you?" "No. But they'll kill me anyway, and now." His jaw clenched. "Now they've seen you. They know you helped me. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." Ava's expression hardened. "Stop apologizing and start planning. How do we get out of this building?" Her strength surprised him. No hysterics, no blame, just focus. "The garage," he said. "There's an exit that leads to the alley. If we can get there—" "I don't have a car. I do, in the visitor lot." He'd stashed it there 3 days ago, registered under a false name. Grey Lexus. New Hampshire plates. They moved down another floor. The voices were fainter now, but that didn't mean they were safe. Minho would have people covering all the exits. At the ground floor, Jun Seok cracked the door open, scanning the garage. Empty. For now. "Stay close," he murmured. They moved between cars, keeping low. Maya's hand was tight in her mother's, but she didn't make a sound. The Lexus was where he'd left it. He unlocked it remotely and they slipped inside, Ava and Maya in the back, lying low. "Don't sit up until I say," he instructed. The engine purred to life. He eased out of the parking space, every nerve screaming alert. The exit was 50 feet away, 40, 30. A black SUV turned into the garage entrance, blocking his path. Jun Seok shifted into reverse smoothly, backing up like he'd made a wrong turn. The SUV's driver watched him, suspicious but not alarmed. He turned down another row, circling back toward the alternate exit on the building's east side. The one Minho's people probably didn't know about yet. "Is someone blocking us?" Ava asked quietly from the back. "Not anymore." The east exit led to a side street. Jun Seok pulled out carefully, merging into Thanksgiving afternoon traffic like he had every right to be there. In the rearview mirror, the building grew smaller. "You can sit up now," he said. Ava rose slowly, still keeping Maya low. "Where are we going?" Good question. He couldn't go to any of his properties. Couldn't contact his remaining people without risking exposure. Couldn't... His phone rang. Actual call, not a text. Unknown number. He answered, putting it on speaker. "Who is this?" "Someone who's been where you are." The voice was male, older, with a Korean accent thicker than his own. "My name is Park Jinwoo. I worked for your organization 15 years ago. Got out before it ate me alive. I don't know you." "No, but I knew your mother. She saved my life once back in Seoul. I've been watching out for you ever since you took over. Thought maybe I could return the favor someday. Jun Seok's hands tightened on the wheel. You're the one who's been texting. Yes, and I'm the one offering you sanctuary now. I have a place in Cambridge near MIT. Safe house Minho doesn't know about. You and your friends can stay there until we figure this out. Why should I trust you? Because right now, I'm all you have. And because your mother once told me that a good man can survive in hell, but only if he remembers why he's fighting to get out. A pause. You brought those people into your mess. That tells me you haven't forgotten everything she taught you. Ava was watching him in the rearview mirror, trying to understand. What's the address? Jun Seok asked. Park gave him directions to a townhouse near Harvard Square. I'll be waiting. And Jun Seok? Your mother would be proud that you got them out. Hold on to that. The call ended. Your mother? Ava asked quietly. Died when I was 13. Cancer. The words came easier than they should have. She was. Good. Better than I turned out. I doubt that. Ava shifted so she could see his face better. A bad man would have left us behind. Would he have? A week ago. Jun Seok wasn't sure. The man he'd been before yesterday's betrayal might have calculated the risk and abandoned them. But sitting at that Thanksgiving table, sharing that meal, seeing Maya's drawings and Ava's strength, something had shifted. Enough that when the choice came, there was no choice at all. They drove through Boston's holiday-quiet streets. Most people were home with family, digesting turkey, watching football. Normal lives, safe lives. Maya finally spoke up from where she was huddled against her mother. Are we in danger? Yes, Jun Seok said, because lying to her felt wrong. But I'm going to keep you safe. Promise? He met Ava's eyes in the mirror. She didn't tell him not to make promises he couldn't keep. She just waited. I promise, he said. Cambridge appeared through the windshield. Brick buildings and old trees. Academia and old money. Park's address led to a narrow townhouse on a quiet street. The door opened before Jun Seok could knock. Park Jin-woo was in his 60s, grey-haired and scholarly-looking in wire-rimmed glasses. He looked more like a professor than a former gangster. Come in, he said, quickly. Inside, the house was warm and filled with books. Park led them to a sitting room and gestured for them to sit. I'll make tea, he said, studying Ava and Maya with kind eyes. You must be frightened. I'm sorry for that. I'm not frightened, Maya announced. Mr. Han promised to keep us safe. Park smiled. Did he? Then you have nothing to worry about. When Jun Seok makes a promise, he keeps it. You knew me when I was a child. Jun Seok asked. I knew of you. Your mother spoke of you often before she got sick. She had such plans for you. Harvard, maybe. Law school. A legitimate life. Park's expression turned sad. Then she died, and the streets took you. I watched from a distance, wanted to intervene, but by the time I built up the courage, you were already too deep. Why help me now? Because you got out of that building with 2 civilians instead of leaving them behind. That's not the action of a man who's lost his soul. Not yet. Park returned with tea, serving it in delicate cups. What's your plan? I don't have one, Jun Seok admitted. Minho has most of my organization. He's allied with the Yakuza. I can't fight him head-on. So don't fight him head-on. Park sipped his tea. Fight him smart. You have something he doesn't. What's that? You know how he thinks. You trained him. And you have me. Someone he's forgotten about. Someone with connections he doesn't know exist. Park leaned forward. But first, we keep your friends safe. The woman and child can stay here. I have rooms upstairs. We're not his friends, Ava said quietly. We just met yesterday. Park smiled. My dear, you shared a Thanksgiving meal with him. In Korean culture, that makes you family. And Jun Seok protects family. It's the one good thing his mother managed to drill into him before she died. Tears were streaming down Jun Seok's face before he realized he was crying. He turned away, ashamed, but Ava's hand found his shoulder. It's okay, she murmured. You don't have to be strong right now. And something in him broke, not in a bad way, but like a dam releasing pressure it had held too long. He wept for his mother, for Minho's betrayal, for the life he'd built on blood and fear. He wept for the man he might have been if his mother had lived. When the tears finally stopped, he found Maya standing in front of him, holding out a tissue from her pocket. My daddy cried too sometimes, she said. Mama says it means you're brave enough to feel things. He took the tissue, wiping his face. Thank you. Park cleared his throat gently. I'll show your guests to their rooms. You and I need to talk strategy. Ava stood but paused before following Park. Whatever you're planning, don't do it alone. You don't have to be alone anymore. After they left, Park returned and poured whiskey instead of tea. She's right, you know, the older man said. You've been alone so long you've forgotten there's another way. Alone is safer. For everyone. Alone is how men like us die. Park raised his glass. To your mother, to second chances, and to remembering what we're fighting for. They drank. And somewhere in the city, Minho was searching, planning, getting closer. 3 days passed in Park's townhouse. 3 days of Jun Seok rebuilding his network from shadows, calling in old favors, reaching out to the few men he trusted who hadn't been compromised by Minho's coup. 3 days of Maya doing homework at Park's antique dining table, completely unbothered by the dangerous men having quiet conversations in Korean around her. 3 days of Ava, watching him with eyes that saw too much, asking questions he didn't know how to answer. Why does he call you boss if you're in imports? She asked on the third night after Maya had gone to bed. They were alone in Park's study. Jun Seok had been reviewing financials. The legitimate numbers that would let him prove Minho's Yakuza deal violated their organization's foundational rules. Because I am a boss, he said simply, just not the kind you're thinking. I'm thinking exactly the kind I'm thinking. Ava sat across from him. I'm not stupid, Jun Seok. I know what a tattoo like yours means. I know why men carry themselves the way you do. My husband. She took a breath. Marcus got involved with people like you. It got him killed. I'm sorry. Stop saying that. Just tell me the truth. Are you Mafia? The question hung in the air between them. He could lie, should lie. Yes, he said instead. Korean organized crime. I controlled most of the East Coast territory. Minho was my second, my brother, until he tried to kill me. Why? Greed, power. The usual reasons men betray each other. Ava was quiet for a long moment. You should have told me before I brought my daughter here. I know. We should leave. You should, but you won't be safe. Minho saw you with me. In his mind, that makes you either an asset or a liability. So we're prisoners. You're protected. There's a difference. She laughed, harsh and bitter. Marcus said something similar right before he died. I'm protecting you, he said. Turned out he was protecting me from the people he owed money to. Lot of good it did. Jun Seok closed the laptop. I won't let that happen to you. You can't promise that. I can promise I'll die before I let Minho touch you or Maya. The intensity in his voice seemed to shake her. She studied his face like she was seeing him for the first time. Why? She asked quietly. Why do you care so much? We're nothing to you. You invited me to dinner, he said, the words inadequate but true. You saw me as a person instead of a threat. Your daughter drew me into her family like it was the easiest thing in the world. Do you know how long it's been since someone looked at me without fear? That's not enough reason to die for us. It's the only reason I have left. Ava's eyes were bright with unshed tears. You don't even know us. I know you're strong. I know you're kind even when you shouldn't be. I know you make Thanksgiving dinner for 3 with enough love to feed 20. He paused. I know your husband loved you very much, and whatever he was involved in, he died trying to protect you. How do you know that? Because that's what good men do, and you wouldn't have married anyone else. She wiped at her eyes angrily. Don't make me like you. Don't make this complicated. Too late, he said softly. The moment stretched between them, heavy with things neither could say. Then Park appeared in the doorway. We have a problem, he said. Min Ho just made his move. He's calling a gathering of all the Korean families for tomorrow night. Says he has proof you stole from the organization. If he gets them to vote against you, you'll be declared an enemy. They'll hunt you to the ends of the earth. Jun Seok stood. Where's the gathering? Your restaurant, the one in Chinatown. He's using my own territory against me. Smart, Park admitted. He knows you won't attack during a peace gathering. Too many witnesses. Too much risk of starting a war. Then I won't attack, Jun Seok said slowly, an idea forming. I'll walk in the front door, unarmed, and I'll challenge him directly. That's suicide. Maybe. Or maybe it's the only way to end this without more bloodshed. He looked at Ava. You'll be safe here. Park has 20 men watching this house. Min Ho won't find you. And if you die, Ava asked, then Park will get you and Maya new identities, new city, new life. I've already arranged it. She stood up, crossing to him. That's not what I asked. It's all I can promise. Ava reached up and touched the phoenix tattoo on his neck, her fingers warm against his skin. I don't care about your past, Jun Seok. What matters is who you chose to be today, when you saved us. It's not revenge, it's justice. To him or to you? The question cut deep. Because she was right. Part of him wanted Min Ho dead, not for the betrayal, but for making him feel powerless again. Both, he admitted. Then don't go, Ava said. Walk away. We'll all walk away. Start over somewhere new. I can't. Why not? Because if I run now, I'll be running forever, and I'm tired of running. He covered her hand with his. I need to end this, one way or another. Tears spilled down her cheeks. I just found you. I don't want to lose you too. The words hit him like a physical blow. Ava. She kissed him, just pressed her lips to his, tentative and desperate and real. For a moment, Jun Seok forgot about Min Ho, about the gathering, about everything except the warmth of her mouth and the way she fit against him, like she'd always belonged there. When they broke apart, Park had diplomatically vanished. Sorry, Ava whispered. I shouldn't have. Don't apologize, Jun Seok said roughly. Don't ever apologize for that. Come back, she said. After tomorrow, whatever happens, find a way to come back. I will, I promise. You're good at keeping promises. I'm trying to be. She kissed him again, softer this time. Then she stepped back, wiping her eyes. I should check on Maya, she said. After she left, Jun Seok stood alone in the study, his lips still tingling from her kiss, his heart pounding in a way that had nothing to do with fear. Park returned with 2 glasses of whiskey. That was unexpected, the old man observed. Yes. Good for you. Park. No lectures, just this. Your mother wanted you to have a normal life. Love, family, happiness. Park handed him a glass. Maybe this is your chance. Maybe this is what the Phoenix was always about. Not rising to power, but rising to something better. Or maybe tomorrow I die, and she watches another man she cares about get killed. Then make sure you don't die, Park said simply. You have something to live for now. Use it. The next morning, Jun Seok dressed carefully. White shirt buttoned to the second button. The phoenix visible on his neck. Dark slacks. No weapon. That was the rule for peace gatherings. Maya appeared in his doorway as he was adjusting his collar. You're leaving, she said. Just for today. You're going to fight the bad man. How did you... I'm 7, not stupid. She walked over and straightened his collar, her small hands careful. My daddy went to fight bad men too. He didn't come back. Jun Seok knelt to her level. I'm coming back. Promise? I promise. She hugged him fiercely. You're part of our family now. Families don't break promises. Downstairs, Ava was waiting by the door. She didn't say anything. Just pulled him into a kiss that tasted like coffee and fear and hope. "Come back," she whispered against his lips. "I will." Park drove him to Chinatown. The restaurant, his restaurant, though Minho had probably already claimed it, stood on the corner of Beach Street, all red and gold and traditional elegance. "Last chance to change your mind," Park said. "No," Jun Seok said. "It's time to end this." He got out of the car and walked toward the door, leaving behind the last person who remembered his mother, walking toward the man who'd betrayed him, carrying nothing but his word and the memory of Ava's kiss. The phoenix on his neck seemed to burn. Rebirth, she'd called it. He hoped she was right. The restaurant's private dining room was filled with representatives from every major Korean family on the East Coast. Jun Seok recognized most of them. Some he'd done business with, some he'd intimidated, all of them dangerous. Minho stood at the head of the table, looking every inch the leader he'd always wanted to be. When Jun Seok entered, the room went silent. "You've got balls, so I'll give you that," Minho said in Korean. "Walking in here like you own the place." "I do own this place," Jun Seok replied in the same language. "Or did you forget who built everything you're trying to steal? You built it on blood and fear. I'm just taking what's mine. By trying to kill me, your own brother? You were never my brother. You were my boss. And I'm tired of taking orders." The other bosses watched, calculating. This wasn't just about territory anymore. It was personal, messy, the kind of thing that could spark a war if they chose the wrong side. Jun Seok switched to English, addressing the room. "Minho claims I stole from the organization. I'm here to answer those charges." He turned to Minho. "Show them your evidence." Minho's smile was cruel. He nodded to one of his men who produced a folder of documents. Phantom accounts, money laundering, years of theft. Jun Seok took the folder calmly, flipping through it. The forgeries were good, very good, but not perfect. "I have the real formation documents for these accounts filed 2 years ago by Kim Min-ho." He pulled out his phone, called up his own files. "He's been stealing from the organization for years. When I got suspicious, he tried to kill me. When that failed, he tried to frame me." "Lies," Min-ho spat. "Then let's verify. I'll submit to any investigation." "Will he?" One of the older bosses, Chang Dae-jung, leader of the Philadelphia family, leaned forward. "This is a serious accusation, Jun Seok. You're saying your own second betrayed you for money. I'm saying he got greedy, thought he could take my place, but he forgot something important." Jun Seok's voice dropped. "I didn't build this organization by being easy to kill." Minho's hand moved toward his jacket. Stupid, breaking the peace-gathering rules. But Jun Seok was faster. He crossed the distance between them in 3 steps, catching Minho's wrist before he could draw the gun. "Don't," he said quietly. "You pull that weapon in a peace gathering. Every man in this room has the right to kill you." Minho's eyes were wild. "I should have put 2 bullets in your head when I had the chance." "You should have, but you hesitated. Want to know why?" Jun Seok's grip tightened. "Because part of you still remembered who we were, brothers, family, and you couldn't quite pull the trigger." "We were never family. You just used me. I trusted you. I gave you everything. And you threw it away for what? Money you'd never live long enough to spend?" Boss Chang stood. "Enough, we'll investigate both claims. Until then, both of you are under house arrest. Minho with the New York family, Jun Seok with me in Philadelphia." It was a fair ruling, better than Jun Seok had hoped for, but Minho apparently disagreed. He jerked his hand free and pulled the gun. The room erupted, men diving for cover, weapons appearing from nowhere, shouts in Korean and English blending together. Jun Seok moved on instinct, grabbing a chair and swinging it at Minho's hand. The gun went flying. Minho lunged at him and they crashed to the floor in a tangle of limbs and fury. They'd trained together for years, sparred together. Each knew the other's moves, could predict each attack. The fight was brutal, personal, soaked in betrayal. Minho got a hand around Jun Seok's throat. "I'm sorry," he gasped. "I'm sorry. Hyung, I didn't want it to be like this." "Then why?" Jun Seok choked out. Because you have everything: respect, power, fear, and what do I have? I'm just your shadow. You were my brother. That was enough. For you, maybe. Boss Chang's men pulled them apart, holding each firmly. Minho's face was bleeding. Junseok's ribs screamed where he'd been hit. This ends now, Chang declared. We vote. All in favor of investigating Junseok's claims? Every hand went up. All in favor of Minho's claims? Only 2 hands. Minho's allies, already looking nervous. Then it's decided. The investigation proceeds. Minho, you're stripped of rank until we determine the truth. Junseok, you're suspended from operations but retain your title pending the outcome. It was better than exile, better than death. Minho sagged in his captor's grip. It wasn't supposed to be like this. No, Junseok agreed. It was supposed to be us against the world, brothers to the end. I ruined it. Yes, I'm sorry. I know. They took Minho away. Boss Chang approached Junseok, studying him. You could have killed him, the old man observed. When you had him on the ground, you didn't. He was my brother. Was? I don't know anymore. Chang nodded slowly. Come to Philadelphia. Rest, heal. Let the investigation run its course. And Junseok, think about whether you want to keep living this life, because from where I stand, you look like a man who's tired of the fight. He was. God, he was so tired. Park was waiting outside in the car. How bad? Not dead. That's something. The woman and child. I need to see them. Park drove him back to Cambridge. Every block felt longer than the last. Every minute an eternity. When they finally arrived, Junseok practically ran to the door. Ava met him in the hallway. Her eyes scanned him, taking in the bruises, the blood on his shirt, the way he was favoring his ribs. You're alive, she breathed. I promised. She pulled him into her arms, and he let himself lean into her strength, let himself be held by someone who didn't want anything from him except his survival. Maya appeared on the stairs. You came back. I promised, he said again. She ran down and hugged him fiercely. See, Mama, he keeps his promises. Later, after Park had checked his ribs, bruised, not broken, after Maya had gone to bed, after the adrenaline had finally faded, Junseok sat with Ava on Park's back porch. What happens now? She asked. Investigation. Could take weeks. If they rule in my favor, I get my position back. If not, he shrugged. And if you get it back? What then? I don't know. He looked at her. A week ago, I would have said I'd rebuild, consolidate power, become stronger than before, but now I keep thinking about that Thanksgiving table, about Maya's drawings, about the way you look at me like I'm just a man instead of a monster. Ava took his hand. You are just a man who's made hard choices, a man who's done things he regrets, but also a man who saved us, who kept his promises, who cried for his mother. That doesn't erase the blood on my hands. No, but it means you're more than just the blood. She squeezed his fingers. My husband told me once that every man is a story. Some stories are tragedies, some are triumphs. Most are a little of both. The question is whether you get to write the ending. What if I've already written too much? What if there's no good ending for someone like me? Then write a new story. Start over. Be someone different. With you? The question escaped before he could stop it. Ava smiled, sad and hopeful. If you want, if you're willing to try. I've never tried before, to be normal, to have a family. I don't know if I can. Neither did I after Marcus died, but Maya taught me something. She taught me that you don't have to know how. You just have to be willing to try. Inside the house, Park was humming something in Korean. Maya was asleep upstairs, safe and warm. Outside, Boston glittered in the winter night. Junseok kissed Ava, soft and careful, like she might break, like she might save him. Maybe both. Teach me. he said against her lips. Teach me how to be normal. I don't think you could be normal if you tried, she laughed. But I can teach you how to be happy if you let me. I want to let you. Then that's enough. For now, that's enough. They sat together as the snow began to fall, two broken people building something new from the wreckage of their past lives. The phoenix on his neck would always mark what he'd been, but maybe, just maybe, it could also mark what he was becoming. The investigation had cleared Jun Seok. Min-ho was in permanent exile. Boss Chang had offered to reinstate him fully, but Jun Seok had made a different choice. He'd stepped down, retired, kept only his legitimate import business. The bosses had been shocked. Park had been proud. Ava had kissed him for 10 minutes straight. Now, on a May afternoon in Cambridge, Jun Seok stood in the kitchen of the house he'd bought, small, normal, perfect, making Korean barbecue for dinner. Maya was at the table doing homework. Ava was curled up on the couch grading papers. She'd gotten her teaching job back. Through the window, he could see Park's townhouse 2 blocks over. The old man visited twice a week, teaching Maya Korean and telling embarrassing stories. This was his life now. Quiet, normal, safe. He'd never been happier. Jun Seok? Ava called from the couch. Can you come here for a second? He wiped his hands and joined her, settling beside her with practiced ease. What's wrong? He asked. Nothing's wrong. I just wanted to tell you something. She took a breath. I love you. The words hit him with wonder, with gratitude, with disbelief that this was real. I love you too, he said, meaning it more than he'd ever meant anything. She kissed him, and Maya made exaggerated gagging noises from the table. Gross. No kissing during homework time. They broke apart, laughing. That night, after dinner and dishes and Maya's bedtime story, Maya called out, Jun Seok, can you check for monsters again? He smiled. Duty calls. Go, Ava said. She needs you. He went inside, checked under the bed and in the closet for monsters that didn't exist, kissed Maya goodnight, and returned to Ava. The Mafia boss was lonely no more, and it had all started with a little black girl saying, Come to my house for Thanksgiving. Sometimes salvation came in the smallest packages. Sometimes family was who you chose. Sometimes the phoenix rose not to power but to peace, and sometimes that was enough.